Hey, everybody, welcome to the Homegrown GM podcast. This is Nick. My hot take for the week, I am generally worried about Drake May's health. I don't think he's going to make it through the season with that terrible offensive line in New England. Jason?
I'm Jason Walker, and my hot take, because I've seen it on ESPN everywhere, is Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback? What? Oh, and he has a beard? Terrible.
That solves all the problems. Solves problems.
Drop him, trade him, do whatever you can. Do not let that man play another season as a New York Giant. I swear to God.
Jahan Dotson's catching the Super Bowl winning touchdown this year for the Eagles. Just want y'all to know, get ready. Get the popcorn. Get the gluten-free Pabst. Let's go.
State your name.
Oh, my name's Matthew Todd. I apologize. I sell pizzas for a living.
Love it. Love it.
All right, guys. Well, I did my homework for the week, and I'm ready for you guys to dissect and realize how incredibly right I am. Because, as the phrase goes, I know ball. Started and did my quarterback tiers list. Interested to see where you think I might have things right, might have things wrong. Any preconceived notions about who's going to be number one? You already know what the answer is going to be, but the rest of it should be kind of fun. You guys ready to take this?
Who does Nick Pierce think the number one quarterback is? Wow, that's a really hard question, I guess.
It's a wild card. I tell you what. And remember, it's tiers, so not just
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to rank 1 through 32, so I did them in tiers. But the tier 1 is just the best in the league, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Second, I mean, how do you not pick a 3-time Super Bowl champ, the 3-time Super Bowl MVP, the current record of 15-3 in the postseason? That's right. He already has a full season's worth of games and then some. As far as I'm concerned, he's already a top 3 quarterback of all time. Behind Brady and Joe Montana.
Who's he playing for?
Say what? Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback? Patrick Mahomes?
I forgot.
Exactly. I'm sorry. It's so hard to hear haters when all I see is bling from championship rings.
I forgot we gave the first 3 minutes of the show for Nick to rant and rave about his quarterback. I
absolutely
apologize.
Listen.
Cup.
I sat through a lot. I will. Yeah, and I will offer them to God because he is the quarterback God. I mean, it's just, I don't see an argument for anybody else. I mean, there are only 3 other quarterbacks currently in the league that have a championship. Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. And that adds up to 3 between them, and Mahomes has 3 himself. So I think the better question is, what would it take for somebody to join the Patrick Mahomes tier? What are your thoughts?
Well, were you putting him like tier 1? It's just Patrick Mahomes.
It's one man. It is
one man.
Tier 1 is Patrick Mahomes.
At the tippy top. What would someone have to do? Lamar would have. I would think if Lamar could win the big one, if he could get over this playoff Lamar image, I think it could really turn his whole. I would say turn his career around, but it's already go. I mean, he's like one of the best NFL quarterbacks in the league right now, right?
So he is a 2-time MVP. Yeah, it's hard to say things haven't gone well for him.
As we talk kind of Hall of Fame kind of things, right? Where if he could win the big one and get away from this image of he never shows up in the playoffs, oh, he's no good come the postseason. Honestly, same with Dak. I think if Dak could, if the Cowboys could if the Cowboys could actually do something postseason, I think Dak would stop receiving so much hate. But I don't think he'll ever achieve that top tier. But I'm just saying, just similarly, they both kind of have that one thing that people say about them that is very much oh, yeah, I guess that's why he's not the top quarterback in the league.
I mean, Mahomes and Lamar. I mean, who is touching them? I don't even know who I could tell you would be number 3 in the tier 1 list. I guess you could make a case for Josh Allen, obviously. I'm not a Josh Allen hater, but I'm not also a believer. Um, and this season will be his tell all because it's got an entire new receiving core. So Mahomes and Lamar right on the head. Those are your top two, in my opinion.
Yeah. To answer my own question, because why not? I think Lamar is the answer if he had won the Super Bowl this last year.
Yeah.
Because then you take away one from Mahomes. He's a two-time MVP and Super Bowl champion. Like, you could say that there's a real contest going right now for you could have them 1A, 1B, but they would still be in the same tier. But I mean, I think you're right when it comes to Josh Allen has a lot of work to do. Joe Burrow has to stay healthy because that's the only guy that really has gotten Mahomes in Arrowhead in the postseason. But I mean, I think we're years away from going, yeah, this is someone that can be in the same tier as him. And a lot of that is just because of how long it takes to get Super Bowls. You only get one a year, only one. So
Yeah.
to get into the same ballpark of not being just a one-time, but most likely a two-time champion, that's a long ways away. So I appreciate you guys letting me expunge on Lord and Savior Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so that's tier 1.
Praise be.
It's just the best. Yes, praise be to him. And may he and his wife continue having many blessed children, and may they multiply. So going into tier 2, these are quarterbacks I labeled as quarterbacks that you can win a championship with. And this is no particular order, but I went Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, C.J. Stroud. It pains me, but Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff was kind of teetering there. Jordan Love with a small sample size, and then Fly Eagles Fly, Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Yeah. I saved that for last just for you. Yeah. I mean, it would have gotten sweaty otherwise.
Yeah.
I think things that I wasn't sure, and, I'll ping to you guys on this. I'm not really sold on Jordan Love. I mean, he had a great 8 games. I'm not in love with Jared Goff, but the man has been to a Super Bowl, so I'm kind of hard to go, well, you can't win a Super Bowl with him when he's been there. Now, granted, they put up 3 points or whatever, but where do you guys feel about this list?
Yeah, I'll go first. So the Jordan Love thing, just to address it, is weird because the Packers love to do that thing where they draft behind their veteran, and that guy sits for 4 years. So it's like he also has to get over like the back. I don't know what to call it. The backup nerves or whatever. Finally starting, waiting all this time, like that does. There's a neurological part of that. And I think you could see that after he got kind of over that and they just kind of let him rip the ball, like he was much better in the second half of the season than he was in the first half, right? Just like night and day. Now, like you said, it's such a small sample size. I wouldn't necessarily go so far to say, I wouldn't necessarily put that stamp on him just yet to say, yeah, this guy could win us a Super Bowl. And the other thing is, and then to go to the Jared Goff, I don't know what's up with him. I don't know why he can't play in, like, not play in domes or whatever, or when it's cold or something. Like he's weird, man. He's got some stuff going on with him. I know he's a Cali boy. It's like, but if you can't play all, it's the same reason I wouldn't put Kirk Cousins in this category. Like if you can't play every game at your max potential, no matter if it's a primetime game, no matter if it's not a dome game, like he's come to a really great place in Detroit where it is dome most of the time. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. Like if you have to play, imagine you have to play in I don't know, MetLife, like in January, and it's the big one. Okay, Jared Goff will throw for 100 yards on 20 passes for 10 completions. It's like, so I don't know if I necessarily put that stamp on him as well. I think there might be a tier of guys that are like could do it in the right situation, or like I don't know, are right under there, like sub tiered. But then I guess that's why they are tiered. I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of those two. That's kind of my take on it.
I think Joe Burrow if we're gonna rank him in order, I think Joe Burrow's up there. Of course, the injury last year, but he's proven he can do it and get there. I think we're missing Prescott. I hate to say it. I think we're missing Prescott on this tier.
Wow.
No, hard to disagree.
I mean, it's fine. Like, I know his playoff records. It is what it is. I don't know. I just feel like I can't entirely blame him. But I think Prescott's missing out of that list. Jordan Love, I'm actually, of course, really high on the Packers this year. I'm not shy about it. We'll get into that a little more later. But I think Joe Burrow is the better quarterback of this list. Jalen Hurts, of course, he's got, in my opinion, a lot to prove to be up there. He played a great Super Bowl. He did well, but he's still like very just shaky so far in his playoff runs. So
yeah, hold on, I need to address this Dak Prescott comment. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not okay. Again, just like Kirk Cousins, I'm not saying this dude is bad. This guy is not a bad quarterback. But he is
Right.
not somebody. I don't know what more the Cowboys can do to assemble a Super Bowl winning team. Like what more do they need? They always have a stellar defense. They always have a great run game. They always like what more does Dak need? He always has top tier weapons around him. Like what? You tell me what is it that this guy needs? And at the end of the day, it's just because he just can't play the big ones, man, and that's okay. And there are people like that, and he'll have a great season. He'll have some phenomenal plays, but whatever it is, just can't close the big one. And it's not like there hasn't been many years where he's been there where they've been like, this was a pretty bad team, and Dak kind of put them on their back and brought them. Because every time they get to the playoffs, I don't know the last time they've won a playoff game. To be honest, I don't have that stat.
It hasn't been that long, but it's been forever since they reached an NFC Championship game. So,
right,
because that was 1995, if I remember right.
it's
But the
like,
other thing is, I will give Dak credit for this. He did have Jason Garrett as a head coach, and not just for like a little bit. And I'm fairly certain that guy's just a boob. So sometimes you just have to say coaching does matter. But I mean, he's not on my tier 2 quarterback list for a reason. I'm not a Dak stan, as it were. Like I just don't see it. And that's because there just aren't 15 Super Bowl winning caliber quarterbacks in the league every year. It's just not.
Yeah.
That's why the tiers, I think, work so well. Is you try and define guys for what you actually think are real expectations for them, and putting pen to paper really helps with kind of figure out, well, why do I like this guy more than somebody else? And so, I like I said, I'm not a Dak guy, but I can see why you could say the things around him just haven't worked out well enough. Having an offensive coordinator that's obsessed with making sure Zeke Elliott gets enough touches because the owner/GM really wants to make his "I have the highest paid running back" thing work. I don't think everything's run particularly well down in Dallas. So making the best out of a dysfunctional situation, I could see that.
That's how I feel about it. I think it's necessarily the people above him. I mean, granted, he's of course the one out. He's out there throwing the ball, this, that, and the other. I would like to, as far as his defense, I think they've had great defenses on paper. Because of the division it is. I mean, I've watched a lot of Cowboys football, not willingly necessarily, but I don't know, man. I've never been. On paper, their defenses have been solid more times than not. But this is one of the few times I literally blame not just full blame, but blame on the coaching for sure. Jason Garrett, whatever. I'm not a big Mike McCarthy fan. I know he's got a ring. Don't really care. And who knows what the ownership, it may not just be the coach, So who knows? Jerry Jones probably calling plays and we don't even know it. So
It wouldn't surprise me 10, 15 years ago, he's got the headset on somewhere secretly, and he can listen to calls and say, have his influence on it.
I would love to see Dak on another team, and I'm hoping it happens at some point. Just for him.
No one's gonna pay him, dude. Like that's my whole point. Is that like who's paying as much as Jerry Jones? Jerry Jones? Is that right? Did I say that right? Who's paying as much as Jerry Jones to keep Dak Prescott around? This guy who's won a playoff game in all of his years, who is seeing this and going, you know what, this is what we need to bring to our team at the top dollar. It's like,
sure.
I don't think it ever happens.
I'm going to go ahead and point to Tua Tagovailoa down in Miami. Has not won a playoff game. I'm not sure if he's beaten a team that is actually like a playoff team, and he just got the bag.
When it matters.
And Trevor Lawrence, who also notoriously does not do well, also got the bag. And so, now those guys were drafted by those teams, so maybe that's the real big thing. But, I keep saying I don't understand how there are 11 quarterbacks in this league that are paid above what I consider tier 1 in Patrick Mahomes. The guys just keep getting paid, man. They just keep getting paid. Fear of the unknown, I think, seems to be the big driver.
Yes, and I think I think you alluded to it, they get paid from their teams they get drafted to, right? So their GM, normally their GM has already spent a first-round pick on these guys. Normally it's 1-1 or somewhere up in there, right? Trevor Lawrence I believe was a 1-1. They're gonna like pin a lot of their hopes and futures on that guy. So they're gonna give him the extensions. They're gonna pay him, and they're gonna pay him that, like, because we talked off camera about this before, but there's no like middling quarterback pay.
Yeah, and it's mid-tier contract.
Yeah, right. There's no mid-tier QB contracts, right? And so you look at it. Dak's been in the league for quite some time. He's a vet. He's asking to be the highest paid quarterback, and you've seen his record. You know what I mean? You don't see him every day, so you're not getting that like, oh, this kid works hard or whatever. It's just like, what about him would ever make you go, yeah, I want to pay? No, I don't know enough. I'm just seeing this on film. Why would I want to pay this guy the most expensive contract to come do what? We can be 11-5, 11-6, and win one playoff game. You can do that. I can promise you can do that without him.
Yeah. The only other guy I'll throw out is Jared Goff. Was a guy that was first round pick, essentially kicked to the curb by his own franchise, goes to Detroit, and then he just got a big extension in the offseason. Remember, right? He was got like 4 for $212 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about a guy that has made it work in a new situation, and he'll be 34 when that deal's done. So it's definitely a way to go, but it's threading the eye at the knee. Okay.
All right.
I wasn't planning on a huge Dak discussion before he came up on the tiers.
You're welcome.
But it actually transitions fine because tier 3
into actual tiers.
Right. Tier 3 quarterbacks for me are guys that can get you to the playoffs but need help to have a deep run, and are glorified game managers. And I personally enjoy the term game manager because if you can't manage the game, we can't expect you to make any other big plays. So this tier list starts with Kirk Cousins. If there is a guy that embodies good enough to get you to the playoffs but needs help, it's Kirk. Dak Prescott is on this portion of my list. Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, barely. I'm really struggling on finding.
You are not a fan of Deshaun Watson, bro.
I can't listen. When a guy's cooked, and I just don't see it, man. And now he's hurt again, not throwing the ball. Like, that's neither here nor there. But for right now, needs help. A great defense really helps Deshaun Watson. Tua's in tier 3. Derek Carr in New Orleans is a guy that it fits this list. Geno Smith, Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, and then barely Russell Wilson as well. Like, last year was really bad, but also I kind of think it was just a bad marriage. It was a terrible contract in the first place.
Right.
I'm actually proud of Denver for walking away from it, just saying, nope, we can't pay this. It was absolutely insane. Where do you anybody on that list that I have undervalued here? I don't think so. I mean, it's my list, but anything that strikes you as these guys aren't just glorified game managers?
I'll let Matt Todd go. I've went first after you a couple times.
No, I mean, I agree with it pretty much. I mean, that's basically the rest of the league. Those guys.
No, it's not the rest.
I know, but it's close. These guys, from here on, all these guys are essentially carried by their teams, in my opinion, and that's just how I feel about it.
Are you basing the Deshaun Watson, like what is it about Deshaun Watson that makes you think he could take his team to the playoffs right now?
I mean, I saw him do it in Houston, and
No,
that's the thing that can't leave my brain. I can't. The guy was electric and realistically a very good quarterback. I mean, Houston thought they had found the guy. It was going to be the Mahomes-Watson draft. And so part of me just goes, I mean, it's still the same person in the same body, right? But from what I've seen the last couple of years of either constantly being hurt, being a scumbag doesn't help either. Like, I feel like his body and his mentality is cooked. But in my head, I just can't let go of the fact that even if he's 70% of what he was in Houston, that's going to be good enough to get a team like Cleveland to the playoffs. They have weapons around him. They have a defense that was number 1 in the NFL last year. And yes, they lost some pieces, but they're still going to be very, very good. Like, you just need respectable quarterback play. That's how you have a Joe Flacco run with a 4-to-4 touchdown interception ratio. Like, and does it make sense? No.
And you know who would agree with you, Nick, on everything you just said? Is the GM of the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
He literally would be like, he'd be like, if he was listening right now, I'd be like, this guy gets it. That's why we did it.
Bring him on.
If we could get 70% of Deshaun Watson of what he used to be, it'd be great. Yeah, except for the last 2 years, you've gotten like 20% of what Deshaun Watson used to be, and it's pretty bad.
Yes,
it's been like I'm fully like, I hear you, I get it, dude. And when he was a Houston Texan, man, that guy was electric, and now I am as like sold out on him. I have 0 shares. I have 0 pieces. I want nothing to do. Like, that guy would have to have like a comeback of a millennia for me to believe in him ever again. Like, I think he's done, and I think he's got the yips. Honestly, you take so much time off. You kind of go through this whole thing of being this villainous character, and it can sometimes just mess with.
Just say villain. Villain is fine.
Yes, he is a villain. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not like, and I would like let's just throw this out there.
Separate that part. Let's just focus on football. Gotcha.
The Homegrown GM podcast does not condone anything that Deshaun Watson has done. Okay, we want to state that very clearly. What'd you say?
Not all of it.
With that being said, purely speaking, football, it's hard to get back in that, and I just don't think I just don't believe he's ever going to come back from that. Just don't.
Yeah, I totally get it. I think if he had a Jameis Winston 30 touchdown, 30 interception season, that would probably actually be enough.
Loaded.
And now Jameis is the backup now. So this is a Jameis Winston stand show.
No, and we saw that. Right? We like you mentioned before, we saw that with Joe Flacco, where he was just like a good enough quarterback. They just needed somebody like literally they could have brought in like Matt Ryan, like Indianapolis Colts Matt Ryan, and he would have been good enough. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they did not need somebody who was crazy good. They just need somebody who could manage the game, and it just wasn't him. Which just causes so much. As we all know, it's the most important position. It just causes so much strife down the line, down the ladder, when you just don't have it. I don't believe in him. I'm out on it. I'm not going to speak anymore on it. But
I like the Browns this year. Whether whoever's starting at quarterback.
Yeah. I think that's a division that can be had. I think it's going to be one of the most interesting divisions in the entire sport.
I think there's a lot of could possibly be a lot of trade value for them. Maybe early on in the season, they could surprise us and do something crazy. Especially if Deshaun does start the season uninjured and everything. And if he doesn't do well, I mean, you don't. There's a couple. There's like 3 or 4 teams that have starting quarterbacks as their number 2 right now. So
yeah,
I feel like there could be some shocking things happen. And that's a good team minus mediocre quarterback.
Minus the most important position in the game. It's a good team.
Yeah. Sadly, it's gonna be. It's probably gonna be. It's a top 3 defense. They only got better on offense, minus the most important position. So,
right. All right. So we're down to tier 4. These are bridge quarterbacks, guys that have either played better than you think and aren't going to be there for long, or are guys that were literally just to be an insurance policy. This list is fairly short. I've got Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, and then now sadly Sam Darnold being thrown in there. I mean, he was brought in to be the emergency. They just didn't think it was going to be before the season even started. Any hope that you see in a guy like Gardner Minshew for a team like Las Vegas? Although they haven't won a division in forever, they can earn Las Vegas when they win a division. How about that?
It's like what, 15 years away, maybe? Is that how long Patty has left in him?
Your mouth to God's ears. Yes, that sounds great. That sounds great. Although if I'm Mike Florio, I'm already questioning. Well, Mahomes might talk about retirement. Bro's just turning 29, but whatever. That's okay. That's fine.
Minshew, I hate he's a Raider.
Yeah.
I think Minshew, he's not like a top 15 quarterback by any means, but he's won some games. A better Tim Tebow. In my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Much better than
Tim Tebow is the bootleg Tim Tebow.
Yes. I mean, I don't see why a guy like Gardner Minshew can't be Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he's good enough to constantly get a couple 2- and 3-year contracts, and then when those don't work out or it flames out and they go with someone else, he then is a hired gun and does well other places. Like, I can see that for Gardner Minshew.
Yeah. I can't wait for a 3,500-yard year.
Gardner Minshew is like he's so interesting because he is kind of like that Ryan Fitzpatrick where you're like, oh, I'd love to have this guy as a backup, and he's a great backup, dude. Like, if you remember 2 years ago for the Eagles, he was phenomenal when he came in those games, right? And then he starts, and then you're like, oh, this guy's like, you're like, oh, maybe he's not as good. He floats in this really weird area of being like almost too good to be a backup, but not good enough to like be a full-on starter. I am rooting for him. I think he's electric. I think he brings so much like buzz and energy to the locker room. And honestly, a place like Las Vegas, the Raiders have just been decimated by just really toxic people, man. Like their whole quarterback room last year was trash. All the stuff with Antonio Brown when he first came in, that was wild. Like, so they deal with so much stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what to really think because they're not going to win the division. They're not going to beat the Chiefs. But Antonio Brown coming in, good coach. I think we've seen that. think we've seen enough. Antonio Pierce. Sorry, I'm sorry, not Antonio Brown. That would be funny,
It
though.
would be a wild story if it was Antonio Brown trying to coach the Raiders.
Oh,
I
man.
would say things are not going well.
No,
Yeah.
sorry. Antonio Pierce.
Craigslist posting was this.
Antonio Pierce, who I think is a good football coach, coming into a locker room of they got some weapons. They still have Devontae Adams for now. I don't know. I know they traded Josh Jacobs, or he walked away in free agency, one or the other. I don't know who the running back is. Their O line seems to be okay. Their defense, they got a nice defense. They get to play Denver and who else am I missing? Denver and
Chiefs.
Oh, the Chargers. They play the Chargers. Denver and the Chargers twice a year. So I think they might be a middling of the road team. They might be a team like later on where we get to be like, oh, it might be a fun wild card race. But Gardner Minshew is never. I don't think he's ever going to be your answer for why. He'll never be why you go to a playoff, but he might help you along the way.
He almost got there last year.
Yeah, he did, and that was also
only
crazy.
played 3.5
Yeah, I think the highest you can hope for a team like the Raiders is 8 wins, and then
that's their ceiling for sure.
Yeah, and so if you get 8 wins from Gardner Minshew, who's on a 2-year deal, is that what you really want to go into for the next year? What do you do with Aiden O'Connell? I would like to see Gardner Minshew do well. I just, I'm not entirely sold that he can be a guy that for 17 weeks can actually get you there. But, you can have a magic year. Things just break your way.
Alexander Mattison is their running back.
Oh, God.
So
every time you say his name, I think of my failed fantasy team. Just maybe this is the week. 2 points.
You can't
maybe
win,
this is
Nick.
the week.
You have the Chiefs.
That's true. You know what? I will make that trade every time. All right. So going to tier 5. These are what I call prove-it guys. So quarterbacks who could be good. Also, I have no idea. This is where most of rookie quarterbacks go. So this list is Caleb Williams, Jalen Daniels, Bo Nix. Will Levis is on here because a new offensive coordinator, more weapons. Anthony Richardson played 4 games. Bryce Young was not good, but it's Carolina. Things have changed. And then Drake May is on this as well. So, yet again, most of this is just young guys. I don't know. I'm not a quarterback god. I'm not sure who I can make from this. I'm sure somebody will be good. Caleb has looked fun in preseason, but it's preseason.
Yeah.
They don't count. I mean, guys realistically aren't getting schemed up. You're just running basic offense, basic defense. And so taking preseason numbers from games that don't matter doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't know. Who do you guys like at this that might actually be somebody that could start off in tier 2 or tier 3? Because, you had people. CJ Stroud last year was a guy that would have been in the prove it list, and he's all the way up to tier 2 for me. Who would you guys like for that to be?
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Maybe Jaden Daniels. I don't think.
Yeah, I was going to say Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels.
I like Jaden Daniels a little more before today.
True.
Yeah.
That's just in all honesty. But I think from a fantasy perspective, I think that's a quarterback you can draft for sure. I think he could finish pretty up there points wise. I think he's going to have to if they want to win the 5 games they're going to win. But I want to see Jaden Daniels do good. But I think Anthony Richardson, Colts team looks pretty good this year, and I think a playoff run is definitely happening.
We just finished talking about Gardner. Gardner got that Colts team to literally, it was a playing game.
Yeah.
Week 17. If they won, they were in. And so if Anthony Richardson can be better than Gardner Minshew, and that's not the highest bar in the world. I think it could really work.
He looked great for sure. Those 3.5 games, he looked great.
It was fun.
Yeah. So I like Jaden Daniels. But I am curious. I'd like to see Caleb Williams be in that, like, at least from this move up to that tier 3, maybe that tier 2 of, like, he gets you to the playoffs and maybe be that guy. I'm not gonna buy into all the hype. I know people love it. People are like, this guy's the next Patrick Mahomes, and I'm kind of like, okay, like, you know, I, I think he could be good, and I think it's what the Bears need. They need someone to come out and just be like a guy who has the hype and just kind of proves it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm kind of rooting for him in that way as well. The one guy who I think, and honestly, this is just based off just history and other things. I just don't know how well Drake May does.
Sure.
The team's not that great.
No, the
I
team's
don't
bad.
like exactly. I'm trying to be nice here, Nick.
Okay.
The team is bad. I don't necessarily think that guy played at UNC, right? North Carolina or Duke. No, he played at UNC, right? It's like
North Carolina. Yep.
I don't necessarily think that that's gonna bode super well. Like I don't know. I don't know. It was kind of the same feeling I got when Daniel Jones went to the Giants. It was like, why are we spending a 5th round pick on this kid? Like he played at Duke. Like, who cares? Like, is it really that big of a? Is it? And again, I don't know. I don't watch college football. This time next year, I could be really eating my words here.
But probably won't.
But probably won't. But I think he's going to come off, like, if he does have a good career, I do think this first year is going to be a really rough start for it. So,
yep, that makes sense. Okay, and then I tried to do a top 5, but like I said earlier, I'm going to have a bonus tier of tier 6. This is the tier that I'm calling the crap bucket. There's
the
just
bums.
no hope for the current team, and it has
Or-
one player, and it is one Daniel Jones.
And it's just
It's
one
Daniel
guy.
Jones. It's one guy. There's just no hope.
No.
There's no reason to have an expectation that this is going to get us to. It's going to come back around. I mean, Daniel Jones' career high in touchdown passes in a year is 17.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't 1968. This isn't where we can get away with we'll just run the ball and that's going to be good enough. Like, you have to have somebody that can do something. At his peak, I honestly believe that Daniel Jones is a facilitator of a football game, as in he can hike the ball, and then he just has terrible decision making. And I mean, it's just bad. It's bad all around.
Yeah.
When he runs, he doesn't run well. When he throws, somehow it's even worse. And then he's just a guy that it's just bad. I don't need to beat up the guy anymore. He's making $40 million a year. He can go ahead and wipe his tears with all of his money.
Nick, as you kick the show off,
sucks.
As you kick the show off with your 3 minutes, I'm going to give my 3 minutes here. All right.
Please do.
I have been a fan of this football team for not a very long time, but he's been there the entire time. And it's just like somebody who is just like year in, year out, loads of fumbles, or not, maybe in the first half it wasn't as many picks, but in the second half it's been more picks, but it's like loads of turnovers. The guy in his highlights makes a 80-yard run and trips on the 3-yard line to no one. This guy who they bring in they bring in Brian, they bring in Joe Shane, and I am sold. I am sold that those two guys are a good combo, and they can do there. It's a good head coach. It's a good GM. They've made a lot of good moves prior to this re-signing of Daniel Jones, and even post the signing of Daniel Jones. I just don't get it, dude. I don't understand. This guy threw, what was he? He threw like 15 touchdown passes, 17 touchdown passes. Is that what you said that year?
Well, the career high is 17.
And that was the year
I think in his contract extension year, he threw for only 15.
Okay, yeah. So when they came, he threw for 15, ran for 5 or 7. And it's like, yeah, at his best, he was like definitely game man. Like he would have been tier 3 at his best. And it's just like, why? Like, why? Why did we pay this guy? Why did we let him rob this team? It blows my mind how unbelievably bad, like, just how bad of a decision that was. And it was already like, you know what? You got him because Dave Gettleman is a monster and drafted him 5th because he said he was told he was going to go. And it was like, no, you could have literally waited to pick that kid up as the Mr. Irrelevant. It was like he was never leaving. And it's like, okay, you got stuck here with him, right? But don't extend his contract. Like I've said it for years, you should have just literally put him on a 1-year prove-it deal, been like, hey, you did it. You did well enough to get us here. We are going to keep you. We're going to have to see it again, or we're going to cut you. Because it wasn't good enough. It wasn't so good that he was like, we have to pay him. Like, oh, Brian Daboll's figured it out. He's figured out how to unlock Daniel Jones. He was like, oh, Brian Daboll came up with a system where it was like, oh, he could get this guy to be somewhat productive. And it was like, that's all that year was all he needed was for them to go to the playoffs. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
yeah,
I again, like the Deshaun thing, dude, 0. I have 0 shares, 0 stock. Get me the F out of this contract. Fucking kick his bum ass to the curb. Dude's a bum. Just bum.
Trade him to the London Silly Nannies for a washing machine.
Yeah.
Right
100%.
now.
Like, oh my God, this contract that he's in. And I know they're like, I know there's no way he sticks around next year, but okay.
I mean, you can say that, but I mean, did you really expect him to get signed to an average value of $40 million per year before this? Like,
no,
it was time to walk in, and they just keep shoveling money into his hand.
They were talking about in the summer, and trust me, because I follow this pretty closely, that it was like closer to 30. And I was like, okay, if he gets signed for 4 years for $30 million, I'm not in love with it because I don't like the number of years, but I can respect the pay. And then he was like, I'm switching agents and we're getting paid more. And it was like, and it just makes me think that he went, fuck, I'm never going to do this again. I need to get paid now.
Yeah.
It's like,
yep.
Can't hate that.
Absolutely. I don't hate him for taking the money. Get every dime you're worth.
I hate him for taking the money.
Would you rather be overpaid or underrated?
Or both.
Just looking at his contract again because it's fun. Cap number for this year is $47.8 million. Next year goes down to 41. 2026, which he's still under for, is at $58 million. But yeah, with guaranteed salary of $0 for the last 2 years, I think you'll be all right. But it is so
That was bad. It was bad. And then they had the whole injury thing where if he gets injured this year, they have to pay him out. And they're like, so they're talking about if they start off 0-4, he may not play another game. And I'm like, shouldn't play anyway. Don't even play him anyway. Just let Drew Lock play. I'd almost rather that. Why did we let Tyrod Taylor go? Like, I don't know. Get the rookie, get the Italian out. He was fun. It's like
you want more cutlets?
No, I don't.
Bring in the cutlets.
I don't like. That's the thing is, I don't want more of this, but it's just like I also don't want more Daniel. It's so hard, and it's just like there's no good options. And dude, you know who I feel bad for is Brian Daboll, who's probably sitting there scratching his head like, what the fuck do I do with this kid? Like, I can't. Oh, what do I play Drew Lock instead? Who's like, is he that much better? I don't know. I don't watch Drew Lock religiously or closely. I've seen him make some plays, but it's just like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot. There's not. I have very, very, very low expectations this year. If we win 5 games, I'll be that will well surpass my expectations.
You should be furious.
I'll be furious because they should tank for the first pick. But
yes.
But my like I like if I were to set the line, I'd set it at 4.5 this year. I just
Sure.
if they went
Oh,
over 5, they would be exceeding expectations.
I wonder what it is.
I think it's like at 6.5. I think. But
Cheese it.
all right,
Really?
rant is over. I cannot talk about this anymore. My blood pressure is going to spike through the roof. So let's move on to fantasy football. And today we're going to talk about being in the middle of the first round when you're outside of the top 4 picks, top 3 picks, because those are pretty set of who's going to go in those spots. And we're also going to talk about having kind of picks 11 and 12 in a 12-team league going back to back. I'll let Matt Todd kick it off here. Matt Todd, you have the 5th pick of the draft. What is your strat? What are you looking at? And is there anyone, if you were to have that pick, that you would probably snatch up?
5th pick. So first off, I don't like McCaffrey at 1.
Ooh.
I know we're not talking about that. I don't like McCaffrey.
You get that out there.
I mean, because realistically, so he starts to fall. Like in my mind, like if I'm, we're in a lead together, and not everybody's going to think the same, obviously. But I'm not. Brees Hall shouldn't be there. Brees Hall, I believe, should be a top 3 pick. Same with Bijan Robinson. Don't hate me. I think they have a lot of upside this year, the Falcons. But it looks like in most drafts, Bijan's falling to number 5.
Yeah, I'm seeing ADP of 6.1, so
Yeah.
6th or 7th pick, and then I'm seeing Bryce Hall, and this is the ones I've got are from ESPN. He has an ADP of 5, so pick 5 or 6.
Yeah, you could either Brees Hall, Bijan, and then of course it starts going receiver a little bit, but I'm a believer this year for sure. I mean, you're going to see it everywhere on social media. It's going to be about the trying to get those 2 running backs pretty early, because there's just so much value at receiver. I also think there is quite a bit of value at some of the running back positions later on. Like I know I talked about Tony Pollard last week, who's falling super down there, but so is his running mate Tajay Spears. Somebody's going to be running the ball down there. Raheem Mostert's, in my opinion, you can get him later. But I think the ultimate strat this year is trying to get back-to-back running backs, and you'll have to, if you're in the top 5, top 7 actually, I feel like you want to get the running back. I think Jamar Chase probably should be your 9th pick overall, simply off the running back strategy. But yeah, you're looking at Bijan or Brees Hall as the 5th pick. Maybe Jamar Chase. I don't like Jefferson there, of course, because we know the issues that the Vikings are going to have this year. I think that affects his stock for sure. But still seeing him go that early is a little surprising. AJ Brown could probably be a good 5th pick, not over Jamar Chase, obviously, but it looks like Brees Hall and Bijan are the way to go at number 5.
I like going running back. I will take Christian McCaffrey 1-1 if that happens. Just I'm a believer. I think for me, trying to find value when you're picks like 5, 6, and 7, you don't feel like you can plan super well based off of who's coming before it gets back to you. So my idea is always look for a bell cow and get that locked up in the first round. If you can get a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, seeing ADP 7.1, I don't see that as being a terrible thing. He's not Tyreek Hill, he's not Jamar Chase, but he's been just about as productive as those guys. And I don't see that offense in Detroit slowing down at all. So if I can go ahead and get that, as opposed to taking a risk on a Justin Jefferson, even to be honest, Jamar Chase, I think is a risk. Anytime you have a big contract dispute, what if Jamar Chase decides he's just going to sit out week 1? Like, do you really want your first-round pick to not play all the games outside of injury, of course? So I really like a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I personally am not as high on Brees Hall, and that's just a narrative thing. If we're really saying we're giving Aaron Rodgers the keys to the car, they're not going to use Brees Hall as much.
They have to, though, with Rodgers' age. I mean, I'm They might have to, and I feel like Brees Hall is going to be catching a lot more passes this year. I feel like there's a lot of just outs and screens, and they're gonna
Did
because
he go on a retreat with Rodgers? Do we have a confirmation that he's listened to his platform for not being vice president? Like, he's going to have to play different games in order to make
yeah,
sure that this all works out. But I think, yeah, I would look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really like the A.J. Brown idea as well. I think that that offense is going to have a bounce back. I'm worried about Bijan Robinson, not because, yet again, he's not super talented, but I just got so scarred from watching that offense last year that I have a hard time going, it's going to be great. But I get why people will do it. So if I can get, Amon-Ra St. Brown at pick 8, I'm thrilled, and I might go a little sooner than that.
So what? Oh, I'm sorry, Matt.
no, Amon Ross should go top 7 for sure.
Yeah. So when I'm sitting there and I get drawn at picks, like if it's a 12-team league and I get anywhere from 5 to 9, 5 to 8, I think your mindset goes from proactive to reactive, right? And so my biggest thing is, so if I'm picked 5, 6, or 7, who's there? Who's on the board? Did somebody already try to reach? It's not like people don't reach for Travis Kelce or for someone else, right? So, and also, like, so you may be in a league where literally the first 3 picks might be CMC, Brees Hall, Bijan Robinson, right? It's like Tyreek Hill might fall to you at 5. It's like, you know what I mean?
Very true.
And sometimes you just like get a snap easy decision. And so my biggest thing is like, okay, see, was it balanced before me? Is it leaning one way? Do I get a little bit of value on the other side? And that's kind of how the first 4 picks are going to probably go when I'm in the middle. When I'm back to back, when I do get those, when I get that 11 or 12, and I get them pretty consistently, I then kind of look back to like bell cows. You have like people like Saquon going at 12. I think he's I think he's fine at that spot. I think the Eagles are going to be high flying. So I do think that they're actually going to have game scripts where they're going to have to run the ball out. And just like there are some other like really good running backs who I think are going later. I think someone we haven't really mentioned is like David Montgomery. He's going to be someone. I think they said Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be back for the opener, but even if he is back, he was still a productive person. Like he's still a good RB2 to have, and so you really want to start like shoring up like, hey, can I get a wide receiver 1 RB1? If not, can I get like 2 in the same spot? I would always, if I am going to go back to back, I do like going running backs just because there is a lot more value in having running back 2 RB1s as 1 and 2 than necessarily having wide receivers that are 1 and 2. But I would probably, just the way it's probably going to fall, especially this year, I would split to having, probably going to be like Saquon and Drake London. Those would be
At 12, 13?
At 12 and 13.
You're crazy.
Seems a little high to me for Saquon.
What's his ADP at?
Saquon Barkley. I've got that pulled up.
I just watched the ESPN mock draft.
Running back or row?
Running a both. What's his both?
I'm more stuck on your Drake London pick. I like Saquon there at 12 or 13. I mean, you're going to have Derrick Henry there. And I think a sleeper, bro, is Kyren Williams.
I did also say that if I had to pick go running back, wide receiver, not if I had to go back to back on the same one, I want 2 running backs, which I definitely think is possible depending on how your draft falls to you. And I was just picking right. I was just listen, Matt. I was just trying to plug my own shit. So.
I realized when I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, Drake London, that motherfucker. Yeah.
He is a 10.
He's probably his best wide receiver there though. At that time, maybe next to Ayuk.
Yeah.
Have a team.
I don't know. I don't know if you should really dive into it. Just really quick. I don't know if I'm taking much of Ayuk this year. I feel, it feels so weird. Like I don't like when players are in contract disputes coming into the season, especially when they were like, I want to be traded, and then when I decline the trade and I want to go here, and like when there's just so much of that coming around them, I'm always like, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna take the next person down. Who is that? You know what I mean?
See if you can add an extra round of value by just sitting back and waiting.
So you don't like Puka?
I like Puka. Yeah, okay, that's a great one. Honestly, if I'm at 12, no, for real, I'm being so for real. If I'm at 12 and I get Saquon and Puka, like I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling
I've
really
seen
good
a
about
couple
my.
drafts where Garrett Wilson fell to 12.
Yeah, I've seen ESPN ADP is 15 for Garrett Wilson.
I've seen Garrett Wilson fall to 12, and I Garrett Wilson and you said Saquon, right? Would be
Yeah, with that, I just know like Saquon towards the back end. Derrick Henry, I think, is towards the back end. High end second round picks. You know, I'm also like I think obviously I'm big on Saquon. Like I've always loved him. Even going to Philly, I get it. I understand. I would hate to be a Giant if they were valuing this bum over me, but you know, we're not going to talk about that.
Not again, anyway.
Not again.
Yeah, we did.
Oh man. So, any like last thoughts on that kind of on that first back end of round one, Nick?
I mean, I think a guy like Jonathan Taylor is going to be there, and we want to talk about a guy that can absolutely be an RB1 in a system that's going to still rely on running the football. I would love a pick like that. I kind of like Kieran Williams. I know that's kind of a reach. I'm seeing his ADP at
A little bit.
18, but I mean, that guy's just going to be a monster out there if he stays healthy. And so I really like the idea, yeah. If you can get a two-headed monster at running back, that's great. But also, like you were saying, being reactive and seeing if someone just drops a dollar bill on the ground, don't be afraid to pick it up.
Oh.
Somehow Justin Jefferson makes it to pick 12. Just go ahead and take it. That's fine. Like, sometimes it really is just as easy as, well, I'm going to take the super talented, really good football player and assume that translates to fantasy. So I think that's probably the best thing. Have a board and try and stick to it. But then also remember, you're not a real GM. This is fantasy football. It's okay.
You're just homegrown, baby. You're just homegrown.
That's right. I'm a homegrown GM, baby.
Just homegrown, baby.
Oh, my days. All right. Let's move into our final segment of this podcast, which is bets, as we give you another conference futures bet, because we love that here. Who is
all we can do is live in the future right now. It's
preseason
week 3.
I know. Here we go. Preseason week 3. Here we're on August 22nd, 2024. Gonna start with you, Nick. Who do you think is a value futures bet coming up to win their conference? Or I'm sorry, win their division.
Yeah, division yes. Winner. Mine is Indianapolis. We talked about Anthony Richardson a little bit earlier. I think if he can stay healthy, and of course that's an if with all of these teams, but that's a quarterback that can be an explosive player. You have Jonathan Taylor with a running game. Michael Pittman Jr. is not everyone's favorite number 1, but he is a really good wide receiver. And I like the coaching staff. I really do. That was a team that should not have had a chance to make the playoffs last year and nickeled and dimed their way to making it interesting and almost making it to the playoffs. The number I got off of DraftKings was at plus 310. And you can't tell me anybody necessarily is running away with the AFC South. Houston feels great, but everyone was picking Jacksonville going into last year. And Jacksonville felt great, and then Houston came and got them. So I think at 3-1, why not? Why not see if you can actually get something there? Now, obviously, if you hate anything that I just said, then probably don't lay your money down. But yet again, I bet $1. So I'm not exactly sweating too hard how it goes. but the logic I feel is sound. And so if I can get an explosive young quarterback, a good coach, and help around him, why not?
I get that. I get that. I think that's fine. It's getting 3 to 1 on a dollar. Uh,
It's fine.
um,
It's fine.
yeah, I think you're not that bummed if it busts. It definitely isn't like I don't think you're punting. If you do it, it's not like it's obviously not a crazy long shot, but it is something where it's definitely within the range of outcomes. So
Yeah. If I think that they can realistically win that division a quarter of the time, then that
right,
works.
then that's right where it should be. Right. So I'll go next. I have the Los Angeles Rams, and I don't. It's not so much. No, so I do believe in the Rams. I think Sean McVay is a good coach. I really do. I think they found some really good weapons in Puka Nakua, obviously Cooper Cup. They have Kyron Williams. They've got a rookie. They drafted a rookie running back behind Kyron, who's a little beefier. And so, like, I think they've got a good offense. I think if Matthew Stafford stays healthy, plays the whole year, and I know that's hard. He's getting old. He got the crap kicked out of him when he was in Detroit, and then
Yeah,
came
there was a lot of heartbreak and a lot of hurt.
yeah. So that dude, I respect him so much. He's been through so much, and so, but it's not necessarily just that. I am the question marks are starting to get drawn around the 49ers, right? What's happening with Brandon Ayuk? Can Debo stay healthy? Can Christian McCaffrey stay healthy? George Kittle's getting up there. Like, can he like if it's just him, can he produce on a high level? Their defense, which was really good, has lost some pieces. What's coming back this year? So I like the 49ers and that maybe they're not as runaway favorites. Brock Purdy hasn't looked that great in the preseason, and it is the preseason. I get it. I don't really think it matters that much, but like I don't know. It could be one of those things where they just it's hard to win the division or the conference.
The division.
Division. God, why do I get so confused, man? I look so dumb on this show. Uh, it's hard to win the division back to back. It just is. It's like it's not unless your conference is just really bad, right? Unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs. And
Correct.
so
Yeah, that checks out.
so I definitely think the Rams are someone there. I think they're plus 360 as of right now through DraftKings. Again, I think they're just someone who you could put $1 on and feel okay about it.
Matt, who do you got for a division winner?
Absolutely. I just want to. I know I had to go for a second. The Colts for sure. I feel like that's probably the. I think they're above Jacksonville in my opinion as far as being close to win that division. And same thing for the Rams and 49ers. Because the Seahawks won't be there. The Cardinals won't be there, unfortunately. I know we like Kyler a little bit, but I'm going with the Green Bay Packers in the NFC North. They are plus 230 right now behind the Lions, who are at plus 130. Did some deep dive into their schedule, kind of. Of course, we know the Packers have a pretty good defense coming into this year, in my opinion. We'll probably finish top 10. I know Jordan Love is our iffy spot, but with an addition with Josh Jacobs, I feel like that takes a lot of pressure off of him. I think it's going to allow him to be a little more consistent. As far as like the Lions go, I feel like it comes down to a tiebreaker for this division. The Lions having the harder schedule, in my opinion, they have to play Dallas on the road. They also have to play the Buccaneers on the road, who are two teams that could beat the Lions fair. In my opinion. That's the Packers don't have to play them. The Packers, of course, play the Eagles instead of the Cowboys. They both play the 49ers, so those could be two that if one of them wins that game, that will decide. I think they split their division games. I think the Packers sweep the Vikings and the Bears. But I think the Lions-Packers split, and it comes down to a tiebreaker where it could be a game between the 49ers or, like I said, the Lions having the rougher schedule with the Buccaneers and Cowboys on the slate. both road games. I just see the Packers. I feel like the Packers have the easiest chance to win. I think the Lions regress a little bit. And so, like I said last week, I think the Packers open up week 1 with the win against the Eagles, neutral ground. I hate to say it, but I'm a sports fan first before I ride my team, honestly. And I think that's going to be a great game. And the Packers need to win that game if they're really going to do anything. I feel like this would just be a great starting point for them. But it comes down to a tiebreaker for this division in the NFC.
Yeah, I think getting off to a hot start is really something that Green Bay has to do if they want to go ahead and try and make a claim for toppling the Detroit Lions, which feels weird to say, but it's right.
They play the Eagles, and then they play the Colts, and then the next 3 games are kind of whatever. They play the Titans, and then the Vikings, and then what should be a fun game against the Rams. They also both play the Rams this year, so those would be games to look out for as well for a tiebreaker situation. So all together, if you put all 3 of our picks together, it is 57-1. 57-1. Get you out there, get you a little sushi meal or something with that dollar. And this shit hits.
Bro.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great New Year.
There you go. But all right, well, I think that is all from us here at Homegrown GM, a football podcast. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Share us with your friends. We are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the social media platforms. And good night.